After 8 years of dating, my girlfriend finally got pregnant. In excitement, she gave me a luxury villa worth $1 billion to celebrate. But I left her and the child, booking a ticket to Africa. You see, in a past life, I quit my job to take care of the child, sacrificing my entire life for them. While bedridden, I discovered 999 love letters she wrote to her true love. She was the moonlight in my heart. I didn't want her tainted by worldly troubles. Others could take care of the child, manage the household, and be filial. She just had to be happy. I then realized she had transferred all her assets to her true love's name. Even the child I raised always called him Dad. As I lay dying, I couldn't even afford medical treatment. I died amidst their cold stares. In this life, I want happiness. I don't want to waste my life on someone unworthy. When the boss heard I was going to Africa, he frowned. Your girlfriend's pregnant, and you both aren't young. Are you really going to leave them? I nodded. I know the baby's healthy. Smart too, looking a lot like his mom. At 6, he'd already say in English, I hate Dad. He's a lazy, dumb pig. I don't want to be like him. The boss sighed and stopped trying to convince me otherwise. After signing the release form, Judy called. I told my parents about the pregnancy. They worry you can't care for me, so they're moving in. They're old and not in good health. I quit your job for you. I'll earn the living. You just take care of the child and be filial. Won't it be nice to bask in family bliss? Without letting me refuse, she hung up. I looked at the family photo on my phone wallpaper and chuckled. Yeah, they were a real family linked by blood. Meanwhile, I was always the outsider. People envied me for Judy. Wealthy, talented, loyal. But who knew her loyalty was to Lucas? She never loved me, just saw me as a diligent housekeeper. After our son was born, she never touched me, busy claiming she had work. All while I managed chores and dealt with in-laws' mockery. In that past life, I worked myself sick in our marriage. But now, I'm not dealing with back issues or depression from Judy's neglect. I'm healthy, young, with a chance to choose my life. Swapping out the wallpaper, I applied to Doctors Without Borders. Soon enough, I was approved, moving in 5 days. I got a cab to pack my things. Going home, I found Judy, finally back after months working late, wearing an apron, cooking porridge. Though she'd always claimed a dislike for flowers, she had a vase of yellow roses. I was surprised, then heard her complain. Where have you been? The house is a mess. Guests are coming soon. How can we entertain like this? Judy's a neat freak, hates disturbances. So I always cleaned the massive house alone. Floors scrubbed spotless, meals balanced and nutritious. 8 years together, and the first time she cooks was for Lucas's visit. I didn't apologize like before, didn't try pleasing her. I'm not feeling well. Not cleaning today, I said plainly. Judy glanced at my legs, looking momentarily stunned. I forgot your accident last month saving me. You should rest. But Mom said you should stay active, it'll help you heal and not fall behind on chores, she added. I nodded, didn't argue. The doorbell rang, cutting her off. She slipped out of the apron, eager to answer the door, not noticing she bumped my leg. With pain easing, I saw Lucas enter, dressed sharp, shoes clicking. He grinned, Calvin, it's been a while. You've aged a lot. Remember, guys should take care of themselves, avoid being a smoky mess. He pinched his nose jokingly, then took a seat at the dining table, a routine for him. His designer suit, fancy watch caught my eye, stirring a pang. Judy's shopping records came to mind. She meticulously selected those items for Lucas. Looking after him, she'd pampered him well. Lucas handed over a used tube of hand cream. Judy often says hands are a man's second face. They need care. She gave me plenty of these. Here, take this one. Before I could respond, Judy returned it to his bag without a glance my way. He doesn't need it, she said flatly. Her indifference, my haggard reflection in the window, left me wordless. I once cared about my appearance, but Judy said men's cologne sickened her. Dress shoes noise gave her headaches. Watches were cumbersome. To her, Lucas alone deserved nice things, fitting his sunny personality. Not someone like me. I was better suited to chores. Lucas admired the lily porridge, Recalling the college days Judy made it for him, he cherished that flavor. Beaming, he noticed the yellow roses, his favorite. Judy's kept such details in mind over the years. As he touched a petal, he found a ring beneath it. Judy slid it onto his finger lovingly. A little gift for you. After that, she glanced at me almost as if she realized it too late. Calvin, yours is custom made. It's not ready yet. I nodded nonchalantly, too lazy to point out her lie. Judy can't remember my birthday, yet she remembers every detail about Lucas. She lacks ceremony, yet she loves planning surprises for Lucas. In a past life, I discovered more than 1,000 love letters and notebooks full of records. They detailed everything Lucas likes and dislikes and their family's happy life. Not a single word about me. I sighed quietly and looked up to see Lucas about to serve some porridge. Judy immediately stopped him and handed the ladle to me. The porridge is too hot. Lucas's hands are for healing, not this kind of work. Don't say that. Back in the day, Calvin was the top student in our class, always first in school. Compared to him, I'm far behind. Lucas laughed, leaning against Judy. Judy didn't push him away. Instead, she patiently coaxed him. How could that be true? You're a respected Doctors Without Borders member. He's just a house husband. I didn't take the ladle, just gave them both a cold stare. Doctors Without Borders has only 30 people nationwide. I know all their names and I don't remember a Lucas. Did you change your name or something? At my words, Lucas's smile froze. Judy slammed the ladle back down. Scalding hot porridge splashed on my hand, but she didn't care and continued to berate me. Calvin, do you even know what Doctors Without Borders is? Don't pretend to know when you don't. It's embarrassing. If you have the time to be jealous of Lucas, you might as well wash the dishes in the kitchen. You don't understand what we're discussing anyway. I bore the pain and got up to treat my wound. How could I not understand? Being part of Doctors Without Borders was always my dream. I worked hard for it for many years. The first time I applied, Judy strongly opposed it, even threatened to break up with me. Back then, she said, Calvin, I can give you everything you want, a happy family and a good life. Can you really leave me behind and just go? Growing up with little love, I hesitated a lot but eventually chose love over my dreams. Looking back now, I realize what she gave me was never happiness or beauty, just a shackle I couldn't shake off. She used false love to trap me in a marriage, standing on my spine to lift her dreams and Lucas's. I didn't want to listen to Judy's scolding, so I went straight to my room. Judy didn't try to calm me either. She continued chatting with Lucas, waiting for me to calm down and make peace, as usual. While packing my luggage, I accidentally overheard them. Lucas said jealously, you're really nice to someone you like. You just gave away this luxurious villa. No wonder you broke up with me. You must have found true love. Don't overthink it. The villa is under my parents' names. You know how my parents are. We broke up because they wouldn't accept you marrying in and experiencing hardship. As for someone I like, Judy gave a helpless smile. If I really met someone I liked, how could I drag this out for 8 years without getting married? My heart skipped a beat. I thought I wouldn't be sad, but my eyes started to well up. Yeah, it's been 8 years. I've been with Judy since college. Every time I brought up getting married, she'd find an excuse to delay it. Her family is wealthy, and I didn't want it to look like I was after their money. As time went on, I stopped bringing it up altogether. In my past life, we only registered for a marriage license when our son was born. No wedding, no ring, no blessings. A simple, happy wedding kept me happy for a while. Now, I slowly wiped away my tears, feeling grateful we didn't register. This way, Judy and marriage couldn't trap me anymore. While packing, I realized I had very few things. Back and forth, just a few loose, old clothes. Once, while shopping, I found a black suit I liked. Customers told me it looked good on me. Judy said, you're just a country bumpkin, out of style and lacking charisma. Don't copy others and embarrass yourself. The next day, Lucas posted the same outfit on social media. My clothes weren't many, but I did have some expensive watches and jewelry. However, they were all under Judy's father's name, so I couldn't take them with me. Looking around, I realized, in this home, aside from my old clothes, It seemed only the mop and rags were truly mine. Everything else, all the grandeur and beauty, had nothing to do with me. My heart felt heavy, so I just threw the old clothes and those items into the trash. Back in the living room, Judy was watching TV with Lucas. Lucas was lounging, and Judy was cracking walnuts. She didn't even glance at me, only left the table of dishes for me to wash. I didn't want to engage with either of them, so I changed shoes to go buy some new gear. As I was about to leave, the phone on the couch pinged with a message. Judy grabbed it casually and frowned at me. Why would Doctors Without Borders send you a message? My heart shot up into my throat, while Lucas just laughed. No wonder you talked like you knew something. Did you just Google it? Calvin, you're still so full of yourself. It's not shameful to be a house husband. The saddest thing is not being loved but deceiving oneself. Judy, with an indeterminate expression, handed the phone back to me. Don't do that again. Didn't I say I'd take care of you forever? There's no need to compete with Lucas over this. Lucas is smart and accomplished. Meanwhile, your career hasn't made much progress. You can't do it. Taking care of the kids is what you should be doing. I took the phone back and started to chuckle. Don't worry, it won't happen again. For years, I'd poured all my energy into Judy, causing my career to stagnate. Looked down on by Judy's parents, ridiculed by relatives for aiming high. But things are going to be different now. I won't be sad over someone who's not worth it, nor will I waste my time in a loveless marriage. I'm going to live the life I truly want. I stuffed my phone back in my pocket and took a ride to the mall to splurge. It was like I was trying to let out a lifetime worth of frustration. I kept shopping until evening and came home loaded with bags. Dishes were still left unwashed on the table. Judy, as usual, used silent treatment to make me bend, and she hadn't come home. I didn't care at all. After finishing my own stuff, I just lay there playing with my phone. Lucas posted a location at a hotel on his social media story. He was covered in hickeys, and there were countless luxury shopping bags stacked beside the bed. Wrapped around his waist were Judy's long, slender fingers. A picture that once would have kept me up all night couldn't stir any emotions in me anymore. On the fourth day, Judy finally came home. She handed me a prenuptial agreement. You've always wanted to get married, haven't you? Sign this and we'll register our marriage. I'm pregnant, so a wedding isn't convenient now. We can do that later. How could there be any later for us? I tore up the harsh prenuptial agreement, saying calmly, don't bother. I never planned to marry you. Judy was stunned and frowned, about to say something when Lucas walked in. Shopping for so long wore me out. Calvin, get me a glass of water. I ignored him. Lucas unhappily got it himself. But when he turned around, he found he was using the ceramic cup I had hidden in the bottom cabinet. This cup was a gift, handmade by a child I helped, with significant sentimental value. I had always kept it carefully, never using it. This is my thing. Who said you could use it? I hurried to take it back. Lucas deliberately dropped the cup on the ground, then started yelling loudly, Calvin, what's wrong with you? He walked over to Judy, holding his hand, tears in his eyes. Judy, why does Calvin hate me so much? My hand hurts so much. How am I supposed to perform surgeries in the future? Upon hearing this, Judy's eyes widened. She carefully checked Lucas's hand, then glared at me fiercely. Calvin, do you know how important a doctor's hands are? How could you do such a cruel thing? I hadn't even touched him. He just took my stuff without asking. Enough. You eat my food, use my things. Everything here belongs to me. It's just a broken cup, and I'd be happy to give everything here to him. Aren't you just jealous Lucas is better than you? I'm gonna kill that thought for you today. Judy grabbed my hand and plunged it into a pot of just boiled water. The pain made me scream, but she didn't care, only looking at Lucas's hand with pity. She blew on his barely visible red marks, then helped him leave. It's all right, Lucas, don't be scared. I'll take you to the hospital. I won't let anything happen to you. The door slammed hard. I fell to the ground, my hand blistered and numb from the pain. After administering first aid, I shakily cleaned up the broken ceramic pieces, tears falling onto the floor. 8 years of love, 8 years of dedication. Even if you don't love me, how could you be so ruthless? With tears still in my eyes, I put the shattered ceramic cup in my bag. The next day, Lucas sent me a message. Calvin, thank you. Because of the commotion you caused, Judy transferred all her assets to me. So what if you're her future husband? You won't get any money or love. I didn't reply. I went to the hospital to get Judy's test results. Sure enough, the child wasn't mine. The funny thing was, Judy didn't even know. I printed out the asset transfer agreement Lucas had sent and the test results and left them in the living room. I messaged Judy to break up, then took a cab to the airport. On the way, Judy's mother and Judy messaged me. Judy said, I was just mad yesterday, don't take it to heart. It's okay if you don't sign the prenup, just apologize to Lucas, and I'll agree to get married. Judy's mom said, did you fight with Judy? She's pregnant with your child. Remember, for someone of your background, being with her is a blessing. You should watch your attitude. I chuckled. Judy's mother had been wary of me taking their money for years. If they ever found out Judy had already transferred all her assets to Lucas, who knows how they'd react. But that's none of my business now. I blocked all their numbers and walked into the airport without looking back. Hours passed, and Judy hadn't heard from Calvin. In 8 years together, this was the first time. She casually flipped through their chat history. Almost every message was initiated by Calvin, and she only ever replied when she needed something. Judy felt something was off. Marriage is such an important matter. Calvin wouldn't have no reaction at all. She sent another message. Does your hand still hurt? Don't be mad. Can't I just apologize? The response she got was a red exclamation mark. Judy's eyes widened in disbelief. Ever since they started dating, she was the only one who gave Calvin the silent treatment. She never experienced being blocked or ignored. After hesitating for a moment, Judy decided to drive home to see. Judy, my hand hurts so much. Can't you stay with me a bit longer? Calvin's injury is worse. I got carried away yesterday. After all, he's my future husband. If something happened, how do I explain it to my family? This was the first time Judy refused Lucas. She hurriedly returned home. The house was empty, and the pile of dishes was still on the table. She was a little annoyed. Calvin, stop throwing a tantrum, okay? You have no money and no job. Where could you possibly go? The large living room was eerily silent, with no response. Judy felt her heart sinking and was at a loss when the door opened. She immediately turned to look. Calvin, you almost scared me to death. Don't mess around like that again. I stopped myself from blaming him. It wasn't Calvin. It was Judy's parents who walked in. Judy's mom plopped down on the sofa, complaining about the mess in the house. She said Calvin's behavior was getting worse. Don't think that just because you're pregnant you can control us. I never liked his humble background. Once the kid is born, he should take care of it. He can't just loaf around at home. Mom, don't say that. Judy's mom had often made cutting remarks like this before. Judy felt like those words didn't hurt her directly. She never realized how hurtful they were until now. Judy's mom didn't argue back. Her eyes locked on a document on the table. Property transfer agreement? Didn't I tell you to keep the money secure? Calvin is trustworthy, but you shouldn't spoil him. As she opened the document, her displeasure turned to rage. She threw the papers at Judy. You transferred all the property to that pretty boy Lucas? Are you crazy? What's so great about him that you can't forget him all these years? Judy's face went white. How did this document show up here? She bent down to pick up the papers off the floor and noticed a medical report nearby. In disbelief, she opened it with trembling hands. Each word felt like a heavy blow, striking her heart. This can't be possible. How could the baby be Lucas's? I was careful with birth control. What? Whose baby is it? Judy's parents were shocked by her words about Calvin. Before they could say more, a sharp pain hit Judy's stomach, and blood flowed down her legs. Her parents, alarmed, rushed her to the hospital. When they learned the baby didn't survive, they cried helplessly. Judy, what were you thinking? Over a pretty boy, you lost the baby, the man ran off, and most of the money is gone. How could you be so foolish? Judy's mom hit and scolded her. But Judy didn't react, determined to go home despite not recovering. Desperately, she searched every corner of the house for Calvin, but he was nowhere to be found. She sat on the floor, bewildered. Calvin had left. He didn't take anything. He was truly upset. Her mother's words echoed in her mind like a curse. No matter how bad Calvin was, he was 100 times better than Lucas. At least he really loved you. Judy knew Calvin's sincerity. Because she knew it, she felt she had nothing to fear. For years, she had gotten used to Calvin's sacrifices. She never thought he would leave, nor did she know how to bring him back. Tears started falling. Judy realized Calvin wasn't coming back. The thought terrified her. She got up frantically, calling everyone she knew, searching for Calvin. After endless searching, I finally arrived at my destination. The conditions here were rough. I was exhausted after a 4 or 5 hour bus ride post-flight. But seeing colleagues and leaders cheerful wiped away my fatigue. Calvin, it's an honor to meet you. We've heard of your achievements for years. I always wanted to meet you, regretting we lost track of you. I'm thrilled to work with you now. I shook the leader's hand, listening to her talk about the place. As she spoke, a pang of regret welled up inside me. If I hadn't made that mistake 8 years ago, I would have helped so many people by now. There are countless refugees and children here who need saving. But I wasted my talent in domestic trivialities. The kids in Africa suffer greatly, yet the tough conditions deter many. With your skills, you could be anywhere. Why here? I gazed into the distance, recalling past lives. In another life, after that child was born, I gave him everything. I taught him to read, to write, and to be a good person. Yet after all my efforts, he looked at me with cold eyes when I lay on my deathbed. Someone as useless as you has no right to be my dad. It'll only be better for Mom if you die. I don't know if they led better lives in that past life. I only know that an ungrateful child like that isn't worthy of being my son. And someone like Judy, who manipulates emotions, doesn't deserve a happy family. Taking a deep breath, I look up. Because I want to see the world and because disadvantaged kids deserve a bright future too. The leader smiled approvingly at my words. I knew there was more to you. Lots of folks said you chased wealth, leaving your career to marry into a rich family. But I never believed that someone so capable would throw away years of hard work. Exactly why would I give up so easily? Post-marriage, leaving my career, I regretted it deeply. Every time I saw those awards and certificates, I couldn't help but cry. Judy's mom would ridicule me. What do you have to cry about? Marrying into Judy's family is a blessing. You'd never earn this much as a doctor. And Judy treats you well. She's busy but faithful. What more could you want? She'd mock me for not appreciating my luck, saying my son isn't close to me because I'm greedy and despicable. Back then, I naively believed in Judy's love. Under the pressure of her and those around us, I lost myself, sacrificing without expecting return. It's only at the end that you realize how absurd and laughable life has been. After a moment of reflection, I tossed all my memories into the past. I gave it everything I had and dove into my new life. My hand hadn't quite healed yet, but I used my medical skills to help one child after another with malaria. Here, I was lucky enough to witness the great animal migration. The vast land can't cultivate narrow love. I found the meaning of life here too. Just as things started to fall into place, an uninvited guest showed up. Goodbye, Judy. Neither of us is the same as before. The African sun tanned me quite a bit, but it revitalized me. I'm no longer the tired shadow of a man I once was. But Judy, she looked worn out. Her shirt was wrinkled. Her scarf and coat didn't match at all. She frowned as she took in my living space, unable to hide her disdain. Calvin, you leave and this is where you end up? You trying to make me feel sorry for you? Whatever, let's talk when we get back. You shouldn't be here. Judy tried to grab my hand, only to graze my recently healed wound. I sucked in a breath from the pain and smacked her right across the face. For the first time, this privileged daughter felt rejection and stared at me in shock. She wanted to get mad but just sighed instead. You're just acting out, I won't blame you. Consider us even now. The kid wasn't planned. I had it taken care of. If you want more, we can have our own. Calvin, stop being stubborn. I'm too busy to deal with your outbursts. I chuckled bitterly. Judy, how can you even say that? Just days ago, a little boy needed an operation only I could do, but I held up my injured hand in front of Judy. My eyes started to sting. My hand got burned. I couldn't hold the scalpel or save him. Thankfully, my boss showed up in time and saved him. But if it was just a moment longer, that boy's life would have been snuffed out. Judy, this is your doing. Your child matters, but other kids don't. When you were destroying my hand over Lucas, did it ever occur to you that I'm someone's son too? Or that these hands can save countless kids and families? Judy couldn't answer. She grew up never wanting for anything, born with a silver spoon. She couldn't comprehend the struggles of an average person. So self-serving that she wrecked my life for her own gains, and shameless enough to ask for my forgiveness. Judy's shoulders shook as she stammered, unable to get a word out. She finally lowered her head. I didn't think it through, it was stupid. It won't happen again. Calvin, nobody's perfect. Haven't I treated you well over the years? How can you forget my dedication over one mistake? Her audacity hit a new low. I shook my head, done with this pointless back and forth, and cut through her facade. The safe in the back. I saw the love letters you wrote to Lucas. The code is his birthday. I know why you were with me and why you left him. So save the act, I'm not buying it anymore. Judy's head snapped up, her face drained of color. You know? Calvin, it's not like that. Lucas is in the past. You're the one I truly love now. I can't be without you. Is it me you need, or just a servant to do your bidding? I didn't argue, just sent her packing. Given my efforts lately, I've earned a good reputation and respect around here. When the local kids saw the commotion, they came around. Some threw rocks at Judy, others chased her with sticks. Scared stiff, Judy ran away, leaving behind, Calvin, I'll prove myself to you. But Judy never did prove anything. Instead, her mother called. Calvin, we heard about it. Judy's young and foolish. We've set her straight. She transferred property to Lucas, but we're working with lawyers to get it back. He's a bad influence, never held a proper job, and God knows the damage he's done. I'd never let him near my family. I hung up, blocked the number. Funny enough, this was the nicest Judy's mom had ever been to me. In the past, even when our son was born, she didn't spare me any decency, just mocked me into depression. Judy never cared to intervene, always off with Lucas. This time, I won't give up my life for their peace. I don't want anything involving Lucas or Judy in my life anymore. But I underestimated Judy's persistence. She bribed the kids with gifts. Since I wouldn't see her, she'd have them deliver her presents. Rings, flowers, fine clothes, all the things I used to dream of getting. But now I don't need any of it. I'm not that desperate kid anymore. I have my own career, dreams, and world. In my field, I make a difference and I shine. These pricey things ended up on the local poor women and children. I didn't keep a single one. I never expected this, but even then, Judy refused to give up. She endured the harsh environment and stayed. After struggling for half a month, she finally fell ill. Calvin, the patient is in bad shape but refuses treatment. You need to check on her. I couldn't say no to the request from my superior, so I grabbed the medicine box and went over. Judy looked terrible, noticeably thinner with dark circles under her eyes. Her fever was making her woozy, and I couldn't make out what she was saying. But when she saw it was me, she broke into tears. She grabbed my shirt and wouldn't let go. Calvin, is that you? Is it really you? I had such a terrible dream. I dreamed we got married, but I couldn't forget Lucas. I kept hurting you for him, even watched you die when you were very sick because I wouldn't spend the money to save you. I dreamed our child was born, a bright and talented boy, but he didn't treat you well. He only liked Lucas. Judy mumbled for a while. Then she widened her eyes and looked at me. I was wrong, Calvin. I truly know I was wrong. These weren't just dreams. Were they? This really happened in the past life, didn't it? After you died, my life with Lucas was a mess, and even our son drifted away from us. No wonder you never forgave me. I did so many terrible things. Calvin, I know I was wrong. Can we start over in this life? Did she change after the baby was born? No, her intentions were never pure from the start. The so-called love was a big lie from beginning to end. Whether for 8 years or a lifetime, deceitful love is all the same. Those who betray sincerity and toy with love are never worth forgiving. I said nothing and calmly gave Judy a shot to reduce the fever. I've contacted your parents to bring you back home. In your current condition, it's tough to survive here. Since you now know what happened, you should understand there can never be anything between us again. Judy, thank you for not agreeing to marry me back then and letting me leave you, to live a new life. After fulfilling my duty as a doctor, I left the ward despite Judy's desperate pleas. Her cries turned from sobs to wails, from sadness to regret. The people around started whispering, but the boss patted my shoulder. Calvin, saying goodbye to the past means walking towards a new life. You did well. The day Judy returned home, her mother cried her eyes out. She said that when I left, everything became chaotic. No one knew Judy as well as I did, and no one was as devoted to her. Lucas only cared about spending money and throwing tantrums, while Judy had no life skills. Their life was a mess, without the passion they once had. You have no idea how outrageous that pretty boy Lucas is. Judy really realized her mistake and wanted to live a good life with you. That's why she put everything down and came to find you. Who knew she'd end up like this? Calvin, we don't blame you. We were blind and didn't deserve someone as good as you. If you ever want to come back, the door is always open for you. I declined Judy's mother's gesture of goodwill. Even though Judy pleaded with her life, I didn't give her any chance to make amends. My future is bright now, and there's no reason to waste time on those unworthy. Not long after, a friend back home told me Lucas lost a lawsuit and ended up fighting with Judy in court. The passionate, reckless love they once had ended in bitterness. I stayed silent for a long time, looking at the rising sun in the distance. The past grudges have long faded away. I'm ready to embrace a new day alone.